Hey guys, Bridget here. In this video, we're going to talk about how to create this drop-down inside of Figma. Now, this is an extract from one of my recent Figma courses, so feel free to check it out if you're interested in more about Figma. But now let's jump right into the tutorial. So we're back in Figma, and as you can see, we have these different elements which are going to serve us as the variants. Now, these are really simple, so if you have a look at it, it's literally just rectangles and text layers all grouped together in one single group with this icon as well. So the very next thing that we're gonna do is we're essentially going to create multiple components, and you can do that really easily by simply selecting all of these drop downs and going here on the arrow, and you can select create multiple components. Now the reason why we're not going straight up and clicking on component is that it's going to create just one single one. But what we want to do is to simply go here, create multiple components. As you can see, now we have the different drop downs for our for case study. So let's go over here, let's select all of them. And the very next thing is we're going to combine all of these different components that we just created as variants. Now, the moment that we do that, you can see that we're going to have this rectangle, which is dotted. And basically this indicates us that a new variant has been created. Now, we can also change the layout of the variants inside of this variants area, so we can easily make it a little bit more easy and user-friendly if you wish to basically use. Now, right after that, what we're gonna do is we're going to start adding some properties to these variants, because as you can see, we have these different properties which essentially allow us to filter through different type of scenarios. So what we're gonna do next is we're going to set some properties for the hover state, since we have these three hover states, and also the status. So let's go ahead and we're gonna do this really fast by simply selecting all of these using Command plus R. And what we're going to write here is status equal, and then we're going to have a comma, and then we're going to have hover equal. And what does this do is essentially you're going to rename 5 layers all at once, and we're going to be able to add all of these information in just a single click. So as you can see, we have status equal, hover equal in all of the layer names. Now let's go ahead and for the first one, we're going to add status opened, and the hover is going to be none. Now let's go on the second one, and which is this one right here. Actually let's move them in order. So let's go on this one right here. So we're going to write status or actually the first one was closed wasn't open, as you can see. So yeah, the second one is going to be opened, and the hover is none as well. Let's move on to this one right here, which again, status opened, and the hover is on the first, since we have this hover on option 1. The fourth one is going to be opened, and the hover is going to be second. And I'm simply going to copy and paste this one. I'm going to rename this to third. All right, now what we just did is essentially create the different statuses and the hovers which we're going to have right here. So as you can see, we have two types of statuses, the opened ones and the closed ones. And you can see that now we have under the variants panel status opened, and I can easily like also change it to closed. We're going to see that in just a moment. So basically, if you go on under the assets panel, you're going to be able to see this variant component which we created. So I can just drop it over here, and you can see that we're going to have all the statuses. So I can select open, for example, and I can select the different type of hovers. Now this is great because you're essentially having just one single element, and you can have all of these variants in one. So really useful, and something that can be easily done in a very short amount of time, but nonetheless it's going to be really effective. Now you might be wondering how we're going to implement this inside a real life scenario, so for example in a screen. Now the way that we can do it at the moment is because unfortunately I haven't really saw a way to add a variant with all the different interactions without the need of creating other frames. We're essentially going to create different frames for the different type of interactions. So the way that we're gonna do it is we're going to have a basic drop down right here. Then we're going to essentially scale this down, and we're going to basically figure out the same width. So let's bring it right here on the top and center, just to be sure. And what we're gonna do next is we're going to select the opened, and this one is going to be the open frame, and I'm going to duplicate this frame a few times in order to create the different scenarios which we're going to need. So I'm just going to rename this real quick to opened. This one's going to be first, this one's going to be second, and this one's going to be third. Drop down, and let's go ahead and let's select the different variable, and let's go over different type of drop downs. All right, so we have them, and now we're going to be able to go here under the prototype, and I'm going to select opened, and basically this is going to be on click, and I'm going to say open overlay. Okay, I'm going to select manual so that I see immediately what's happening whenever the manual one is selected. Now if I go over here and I basically create a frame out of this rectangle right here, I can drag it right on this one. This one is going to be while hovering, and it's going to be open overlay manual, and I'm going to essentially need to create something which works like exactly as this one, meaning that the pixels have to match perfectly. Now if we do a quick test, we can see that now Figma is loading. I'm going to click here, and as you can see I have the first hover. So basically what we did from a high level is saying to Figma, hey, this is the main frame. The moment I click on this one, I'm going to open this overlay. The moment I hover over this first one, it's going to change to this one right here. And I have to say the same also for these other ones. So actually, let me go here on prototype, and I'm going to frame the selection again, and I'm going to say whenever it's on option 1, while hovering, I'm going to open this overlay, which is going to be manual, and I basically want it to match perfectly. And the same is going to be true for this one. Now why am I doing the frame selections is essentially because that way you can redirect them over here. Not even sure it's essential at this point, but something I'm just been doing forever. So let's go over here, manual, and here we go. So the moment we do this, and we check back, you can see how we easily created this different menu, and we can also make the drop down close whenever you're essentially clicking back. So let's do one click, navigate to, yeah, that should work. Yeah. So as you can see, we have this drop down. I think there's like 1 pixel jump, but not a big deal. So yeah, this is pretty much how you do this drop down in Figma. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.